But this is a new All Blacks team. It's a new All Blacks coaching team. There's no better time for England to head down there and have a crack at it.
I don't think England are set up, even with Marcus Smith at 10, to play that style of rugby against the All Blacks and win. Really, but you look at the quality that England have got on the squad that's been released. What are your thoughts?
Oh, what are your thoughts? Very serious, James. I like the squad. And like any squad that comes out, there's going to be points to debate, right, on who's in, who's not in, some of the players that have missed out. But actually, the balance of the squad, I think, and the excitement, looking at probably where New Zealand are at the minute, because no one really knows where they're going to be with the players that they've lost and new coaches coming in. Yes, they've done well in Super Rugby with the Blues and the Chiefs and the Hurricanes. I think they've got 3 teams in the semi-finals there, but it's a bit of unknown. And England had a bit of momentum at the end of the Six Nations after beating Ireland and nearly beating France over in France, but we changed the way we played a bit. Looking at the squad, there's a nice balance to it. The big questions for me are around who's going to play 10, Marcus Smith or Finn Smith. And I think you've probably got to back Marcus. And I don't know whether to go negative early around players that haven't made it, but there must have been some tough calls. Because you look at Ted Hill and how he's played towards the end of the year. I think he's unlucky. Curtis Langdon, is he injured with his shoulder? I thought he's really unlucky.
He looked injured.
Yeah, he did. Gabriel Ogre has obviously got the nod as that third choice hooker. Alfie Barbary hasn't got a shout again. You go back to the Premiership final and he gets taken off. Did that have an impact or not? George Ford's out injured. Jack Van Portfleet isn't there either. No Elliot Daly, no Max Manning. So there are players missing, but looking at the squad, I'm really excited. You've got both Curry boys there. And maybe that's the thing for Ted Hill, that he's too similar to the Curry boys to, and as we know, Steve Borthwick likes a tall 6 that can operate in a line out as well. So maybe there's just too much similarity between the likes of Ben Earl, Curry boys, et cetera, et cetera. So I like the squad. It's going to be interesting to see. Tight head's a big thing. So obviously Coley's still going at 42. Fair play to Coley.
Well, that's the issue. That's the issue amongst a lot of the teams. Scotland have the same thing. I mean, who wants to play prop these days?
Yeah, exactly. Cunningham South in the back row. I can't wait to see him play. Ben Earl's obviously been one of England's best players over the last couple of years. Jamie George skipper in it still. Marrow's going. George Martin back fit again. Big impact expected from him. And then Sam Underhill's in the mix as well. So maybe Ted Hill's a little bit unlucky because of the quality of players that are similar to him. But in the backs, Joe Carpenter called up for the first time. He's been on fire for Sale, hasn't he, as fullback. Feo Waboso again, can't wait to see him play. Freeman's been brilliant. Furbank's been really good as well. He got given his shot, didn't he? Again, during the Six Nations. He's walking into camp with a winner's medal around his neck. Ollie Lawrence. The battle for 9's interesting. Harry Randall's back in the mix, but, Mitchell against Ben Spencer, who he's going to back, and I think he's going to back Mitchell to start off with. Good squad, like it. Positive. How many times do you get to go to New Zealand in your career as an international before a tour and think, fucking hell, we've got a good chance of going down there and winning? Because I think that should be England's mindset. Not necessarily off, out and out form, but because we had a bit of a sticky Six Nations to start off with, but we improved. But then looking at the opportunity to go and beat the All Blacks in their own backyard. Ireland did it last summer. You take a little bit of that blueprint of how they did things. It's the unknown of how Razor's going to change things up. Who's going to be his 10. I think England can go there full of optimism and hope, and have every chance of winning this series. I know it's only a 2-match series, but even coming away with a draw, winning one game each would be a huge positive. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops, and hopefully England can kick on and continue in the attacking mindset vein that they had towards the back end of the Six Nations.
Yeah, and that was the stuff that we were talking about after, just to pad out the episode about going down to New Zealand. So I threw out there as a question, have New Zealand lost their aura? And then Rugby Pass package up a bit of content around us talking about England going down there. Like, are we crazy to think that they could go down there and beat the All Blacks? But I don't know. I am different, right? Because I got spanked by the All Blacks, and I love the brand. I love Scott Robertson. I feel like it's an impossible challenge for England, regardless of what kind of squad that they've got. But that's not based on anything other than like historic trauma and also my love of the All Blacks. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to, and it is hard to unpack, isn't it? Because if England play, the question marks on England are, if they play the way they did against South Africa, then they could go down there and do something. But if they go down there and play the way that the fans want them to play, or the pressure of playing an attacking style rugby, then they ain't winning. Like, they're just not. You're not going to beat New Zealand and the All Blacks in that style of rugby, I do not believe. I don't think England are set up, even with Marcus Smith at 10, to play that style of rugby against the All Blacks and win. And I might be wrong, and I hope I am wrong from an English point of view. And that's what you have to ask. I wonder what Steve's thinking. Is he thinking go down there and really try the new style of rugby that we want to play with Alex Mitchell, with Marcus Smith, with Ollie Lawrence? Like, who's going to be in the centre with him? Is it going to be Henry Slade, who's been of form? You know, you've now got Feo Bosa, who will be a shoe-in to start. Who's your fullback going to be? What are your second rows going to look like? Okay, so that's what I mean. So you have got decent options. You've got Freddie Stewart. Does he come back in anywhere near it, or is he out? You know, do you put him on the left wing, or like Tommy Freeman's been wicked as well? So you've got loads of options, but I think the English way of playing, people are uncertain of. And that's what's going to be so good, right? But I do wonder what their mindset going down to New Zealand, because you actually look at the tours. They're two unbelievable tours. South Africa against Ireland, England against New Zealand. Like, that's mega. So it's meant to be the end of the season. Like, it's not. Like, this is on. It's like, these are going to be wicked games. And obviously Scotland versus Uruguay as well is going to be pretty epic.
Mate, that'd be big. That's a big one to watch out for. But if you're an England fan or an England player, I understand your historical pain of getting absolutely battered by New Zealand every time you played them. So did I. But this is an opportunity, because we don't know what New Zealand team's coming out. They've lost so much experience. They've got a new coaching setup, and there's always an expectation that the All Blacks are going to win at home. You know, there's one game at Eden Park, where they just literally never lose. But this England team, I think there's a nice balance between playing the gnarly English way with a big pack. You know, you've got the likes of Marrow's the experience, Jamie George, ridiculous amount of experience. Like, we're not taking the Shags down to New Zealand. We're taking as close to full bore as we can. We've got a big pack that can take it to New Zealand, but we've also got an exciting backline with those players you mentioned. Delighted for Slightholme as well, hopefully getting the opportunity of his first cap. But you marry up a big forward pack that can play a gnarly way with game management from Marcus Smith at the right time and the excitement that we do have in the backline, then you can see a balance of both games. And they're not going to go down there and chuck it around everywhere, but they have the ability to play quick and fast when they want to, if they're allowed to. And for me, there's no better time for an England team to go down to New Zealand than now. And it might be egg on my face in a few weeks' time, and we might lose a Test series 2-0 and get absolutely humperdinked. But that's the fact at the minute. The All Blacks are an unknown. We've always known over the last however many years going down there, they're going to be good. But this is a new All Blacks team. It's a new All Blacks coaching team. There's a lot of IP that's gone out of that squad. So for me, there's no better time for England to head down there and have a crack at it with a with a full strength team.
Yeah, that even trying to name an All Blacks 15, I would struggle now.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. But they've got Ardy Surveyor and they've got Dalton Papali. I love him as a player. He's quality.
England 2-0, Jim. What about you?
2-0 for All Blacks.
Oh, maybe it'll be a draw. 1-1 then. I'll change my mind. 1-1. I'll go a draw.
You're a flip-flopper now. Look at you. Buildings are so nice. It's going to be a draw. You've completely changed.
There we go. We'll see.
Pod.
Rugby pod.